my song. Let's sing it. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Come on, it's gonna be fucking awesome. You know the words. It's gonna be fucking awesome. That's insane. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Yeah!
All right. Before anybody gets mad, before the comment section is before the comment section is loads blasters aimed at me, let me say this clearly. This is not about hating on Star Wars or Disney Star Wars or any hate at all, really. This is about loving Star Wars and Star Trek enough to tell the truth. Because something broke. Not just a franchise, a shared myth, as we like to talk about here, the monoculture. Oh, man, sorry, I'm tongue-tied today. But, Star Wars used to be a campfire story. Parents passed it to their kids. Kids grew up, carried it forward, added meaning without erasing what came before. That wasn't an accident. That was George Lucas doing mythology on purpose, very much following the hero's journey. If for those of you who have read Joseph Campbell's book, The Hero's Journey, which I read a very long time ago now. Don't ask me to quote it, but I remember the basic ideas. And when Disney bought Star Wars, they didn't just buy characters and ships and theme park real estate. They were handed a map. I know you had Kathleen Kennedy famously saying that there wasn't a comic book mythology to pull from, and meanwhile, not only was there a comic book mythology to pull from that was quite filled with stories and things that fans would love to have seen told. There was a rich novel collection, and other things. Not to mention a plan for a sequel trilogy conceived or at least approved by George Lucas himself. Plus, a completed, fully written, live-action fucking TV series, which I've heard some really interesting things about. Not to mention a philosophy about the Force that went deeper and stranger and more spiritual than anything we'd previously seen before in Star Wars, according to so much of what's been said. And, they said, nah, too weird, too risky, too mythic. And to some degree, you do understand that choice away from some of those things or leaning away from some of those things. At the time, the prequel trilogy, though better reflected upon now, was at the time maligned by plenty of people. And so much of what was pointed at often, with ridicule, was the midichlorians and the things that were more spiritual or magical in nature, explaining some of those things. So instead of evolving the story, Disney chose to reset it. And instead of building on shared meaning, they replaced the symbols with new ones. New ones that have not have not stood up well over time. Even though I think somebody like Finn could have been a new idol. There was something rooted there that was really great. A stormtrooper who broke free, and then maybe he was going to be a Jedi. That was all really cool, especially because that actor had been great in Attack the Block, and film buffs like myself, when we saw him, John Boyega, on the film posters with the lightsaber, we were like, fuck yeah, because he had a samurai sword and Attack the Block, and he's pretty badass in that movie as a young man. Worth checking out Attack the Block if you've never seen that. One of my favorite movies of the past 20 years. Remember, Digger, I'm recording in here, so please try not to clang around too loud. Instead of the elders passing continued, like, if there was more focus on Luke Skywalker in a positive way for kids to be able to identify him, see him heroically, blah, 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 then it's the elders coming in. He's like, who is Luke Skywalker? Well, Luke Skywalker is this guy. And I'm sure those stories did take place, but not in a good way. It was like, who's this guy? Kind of thing. When the stories are built upon the past stories and there's more to know, and people got into the Marvel Universe. This just happened with the Marvel Universe. People turn to their friends and, what's going on here? And is there more to know here? And they seeked out more information. When this is done well, when it's done lovingly, when it's done based in story, naturally there is intrigue and more desire to be a completist and know the whole story inside and out. And here's, well, I should just say that what they've done here by changing it as much as they have is they've cut the chains of connection between generations, and they're calling it progress. But it's just a dead end, unfortunately. It's like putting a new song on the radio without connecting it really strongly to a previous song, a previous band, or a good song in front of it and a good song behind it. 3 duds in a row isn't a good, isn't a good recipe. It's not the best metaphor. Forgive me. But I was gonna say, the thing is that most people, they can feel, but they can't quite articulate this point, I would say, and that's why it hurts. Not because your movie was bad per se, because your favorite character changed so much, as because the myth stopped being respected. The continuity of meaning was lost. And when that happens, the culture stops trusting the story. And I mean, we have so tuned out. Will we come back for a crossover of the Fox and the Sony and the Marvel? And yeah, probably. But that's a spectacle. That's a stunt, It's not a long-term storytelling kind of goal. And, in general, the Star Wars universe in particular, I really think is kind of dead in the water. Even though I've said once, and I'll say it again, Andor was really wonderful. And so few people watched it, I feel like somebody spent $1 billion on a show for me. So I could watch. They spent a lot of money on that fucking show. Nobody watched it. But it's really good. I recommend it. Sorry, I've had a tickle in my throat all day today. So where was I in my little bullet points here? Well, look, tonight we're not going to nitpick fucking plot holes or anything, but we're talking about why the Force stopped feeling like the Force. Why Luke Skywalker went from a mythic compass to a punchline, and why George Lucas's rejected plan might explain everything that feels hollow in modern franchise storytelling. This isn't nostalgia, it's archaeology. Something that I plan to do a lot more and more on this show, and like with my platform and with blacklightdistrict.studio, which if you haven't visited blacklightdistrict.studio, go visit it now for free music, free comic books, and eventually we'll have an archaeology of great movies and great TV shows and great comic books and great music. And I want to just like have a collection all in one place of great recommendations that people can find from a source that they can believe in. And just kind of ties together with everything that we're doing here on Coolest Alive. And I hope you'll help be a part of it and get into it. And actually, if you want to be one of these archaeologists of entertainment, I am collecting people. I have a few people who are going to be working on like the magazine and some of the sections that are involved. The magazine we're doing next with Blacklight District Studios called Sugar and Bones, and it's an anthology magazine like with comics, but it's also got how-to kind of shit written by really talented people and recommendation kind of stuff, and finding the right people who really, really love comics. And I want people who love the shit and have an encyclopedic knowledge, understanding, remembrance of these things. We're really just trying to collect some people who are passionate about this stuff so that we can keep up on it and make it something that matters within the culture of entertainment in a cool way. So buckle up, because once you see what is being left on the table here as far as Star Wars is concerned, you cannot unsee it. And we'll talk about Star Wars a little bit too. Real quick, I'll just say, if you're not listening, Monday through Friday now, I do a recommendation every day. Every Monday is music, and I do an album. Every Tuesday is animation. Thursdays are live action, and I do either cartoon, TV show, or movie or TV. I haven't done any TV shows or cartoon series on the things. Usually the cartoon series I want like more time to talk about them. Same thing with like the TV series. So it's usually just film and live action film and animated films. And then Wednesdays we do comics. I've been listing some of the greatest shit of all time, plus some stuff that I've read recently that's great. And then, Fridays are wild card, where we've been doing all sorts of stuff, documentaries, comedians. We just did a live event, a really, really cool one, which was, did I do the live event on Saturday or do I do it Friday? I think I did it on Friday. Yeah. For the dude who free soloed the building, that shit, even though he makes it, it's like scary, and it's so cool to see somebody do something like that. I don't know. I love it. Anyway, 5 days a week with entertainment recommendations. I try to keep them to around like 15 minutes each, though the music episode is usually a little bit longer than that because I play clips, even though I have to talk over it and shit. But anyway, I've been doing that for like 5 months now. So if you go back, there's at least, if it's 5 months and we do, let's say, at least 4 per month, that's like 20 comic book recommendations? Shit, that's crazy. Have I already recommended that many? That's awesome. And or am I doing the math right? Right? Because 1, 2, 3, 4 times 5. Yeah. Right? Cool. 20 comic recommendations, 20 album recommendations just in the past 5 months, 20 film recommendations. And there's actually more than that, too, because we did Teeth Week, where we did all animals. So that cuts into my 20, maybe, possibly. But close to 20. And 20 animated films, 20 live action films. I'm really proud of that. I don't know. Whatever. Fuck you. No, so I'm supposed to not be imagining some person in the audience trying to talk shit on me. It's so funny when you go out into the world and you see so many of these podcasts and these things. You just feel terrible for these people because they're getting clowned all the time, and it's like, fuck, it's not cool. I try to just be like so earnest that it's just like, oh, come on, man, like you know me, don't be a dick. I'll admit when I'm wrong and shit. So let's see, what else did I gotta tell you? Oh, every Sunday we do an esoteric wisdom show, or some people like to call it a conspiracy series, called Everything They Don't Want You to Know. It's a really awesome show, building a great audience. I appreciate those who are already listening to it every Sunday. And I don't know what happened this past week. We had like a thing. I got all my episodes in on Monday, but they didn't go up until yesterday. So if you were like, what happened to Jesse's shows? I'm sorry. Sorry about that. And this is coming in a little late. But I had loud people and shit going on at the house. So I just couldn't fucking do it, man. I couldn't fucking do it. And I'm going to do this fucking All Your Favorite Bands Suck episode on probably Godson, which is one of my favorite new artists, and Black Keys are after that. I just like, haven't been able to fucking get it in. That's what she said. Bada bing. But there are still 50-something episodes of All Your Favorite Bands Suck in existence, and they're all my favorite bands. Tons of different genres. It's great stuff. If you want to get into some music, go check it out. And then, of course, like I said, we've got like 20 albums that I've recommended in the past 5 months. So if you want some good single albums, there's some great ones that I've recommended over the past months now. Anyway, I think that's everything we said. Oh, and usually I would tell you to, you can email me at jbs@blacklightdistrict.studio. Oh, son of a bitch. I'm doing this in like late afternoon. I've been working on a lot of things, and I'm just like kind of wrecked. I've been working so hard, but it's good. It's been like all stuff that I really like to do, and I'm making progress on things, and life is good. So don't cry for me, Argentina. So what are we going to chat about? Oh, well, I was kind of blown away earlier. Can I say I like bought a Grok subscription because Grok was like it was functioning like incredibly for me on like X and stuff. And then I bought a subscription and it doesn't work at all anymore. And previously I had a Chat GPT and I had canceled it because it was like working like shit. And now I've been turning to the Chat GPT, which I don't have a fucking subscription for. And the one without the subscription gives me better information, more accurate information, like regularly. I'm like constantly like, what the fuck are you talking about, Grok? And I don't even think it's like an indictment of Grok. I think it's an indictment of when you subscribe. But I was trying to see if it could put together a lot of the things that I had remembered about the changeover between Kathleen Kennedy and George Lucas, and things that I knew were long gestating, cooking, or were purported to be there. You know, I've got a lot of friends who are super Star Wars fans, or at least were prior to the Disney era of things, and I definitely had like a lot of like inside kind of knowledge. So I loaded it up with like a ton of the things that I had heard about, and I was like, what about this? And it brought back to me even more things that I had not heard about, and I looked into a couple of them just to make sure it wasn't like creating stories as this AI sometimes does. Like, so when it's like really always be careful when you're using the AI, like the AI. You know, for the most part, I only really use it for things that I have a built-in knowledge of what I'm talking about. You know, because case in point, I'll use it to sum up, do some summaries of stories for me for like the movie or whatever else. Like just like give me like a little breakdown so that I can, you know, remind myself whatever. But because I know the movie, so occasionally it has given me an incorrect summation of the movie, and I just went, that's not what the fucking movie is about. You know, so make sure that you are aware of the things that you're talking to the AI about, and definitely if it tells you anything that makes you go, "What? I've never heard that before." Always look into that, because, like I said, there was a couple things here that I was like, "Oh, and that really," but worth going to double check. In this case, it was true, but. So I'm just gonna share like a bunch of these things because it really actually loaded me up. I mean, and that's what tends to happen if you load it up with information in the offset. Like, you know, tell me about this. So it's bullet pointed a bunch of things out here, but just to sort of make it easy, I'm just gonna fucking read a lot of this stuff. When George Lucas sold Lucasfilm to Disney in 2012, he didn't just hand over assets and wish them luck, he allegedly left them with a full creative roadmap and a treasure trove of material. The tragedy, depending on who you ask, is that Disney mostly ignored it, and I would say basically ignored it completely. Here is what Lucas is widely reported to have left behind. 1. A full sequel trilogy, as mentioned, a story treatment for episodes, what would it be, 5, 6, 7? And is that it? Wait a second. Episode 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah. So episodes 7, 8, and 9. Not vague ideas, actual story outlines, key elements that have been corroborated by Lucas, Bob Iger, and others. A deep dive into the wills. This is one of the things I mentioned to it. Yes, the microscopic beings behind the Force. That was talked about, and and these are things. A lot of these things, as I said earlier, there was definitely some not speculation. Picking at these ideas of whether or not these ideas were going to go, oh, George is going to do the wills. And, because some of these ideas were hinted at in the comics and the novelizations and whatnot. And in some cases, they were done very well and people were interested in them. But not everybody had necessarily read those. So the concepts at a glance, especially something like the wills, the microscopic beings behind the Force, was a little far and weird for people. Also, you got the Force treated more as a cosmic ecosystem than a superpower. These are all really cool spiritual things that I am open to and I would really like to have seen. A young female Jedi protagonist, proto-Rey, but very different. Luke, and that's just funny to me too, because they had a girl protagonist already. So it's like, well, we had to adjust. Like, what ways did you have to go so? Why did you have to go so far away? These are so many questions that I have, because I feel like they could have gone somewhere close. But and we're going to talk about something in a second, because there's rumors that they may be getting back to this, and I'll probably maybe put that in the title somewhere. But that they're hinting about going, but like the only way to get the fans back is to say we're going to go back and do what George wanted, which is a good strategy. So we also have Luke as a broken, withdrawn figure who would return with purpose. And the story being more mythological, spiritual, and weird than nostalgic. Lucas later said that Disney felt his ideas were too experimental. But I think that's where that would have been amazing had it gone to a more magical and interesting place. I think he probably was right on the money, and I think this energy would have been great, especially in the right hands. So 2, and this is one of the things I mentioned to it, and it gave me a lot of information about it, some of which I didn't know, is this Star Wars Underworld TV series. And the AI said this one hurts the most. And yeah, a planned live-action TV series set between episodes 3 and episode 4. Dark, adult, morally complex, focused on crime syndicates, corruption, the rise of the empire. Over 50 fully written scripts, and this is what I had read about. I don't know, just a week or two ago. I was diving into this show, and I hadn't heard about it before. But the fully written scripts and people that had read them and said that they cried over episodes about the Emperor, which seems hysterical. But I do believe that that's possible with some really good sci-fi writing and stuff. And a lot of these concepts have been, opened up and explored more and in ways that, we can't imagine yet based on just seeing the, 6 movies and, we're erasing the Disney thing. The ChatGPT pulled a quote here that said, described by insiders as, quote, the most sophisticated thing Star Wars has ever done. And that was what I had heard as well. I don't know if sophisticated was the word the person that I was using, but really sort of like Disney breaking, just adult and, and heady, which I'm all about. That's part of the reason why I love Andor, because it's just, Star Wars is sort of like it just glosses over all of the things about it that are really intriguing and interesting and dark and are worth exploring. And Andor, gets into that shit a little bit. Like this is very cool to me. The fact that fucking 50 fully written scripts exist, like that's nuts. Like green light that. That's a good idea. It didn't happen at the time because apparently it was too expensive. I'm sure, fucking sure it was. I mean, look at freaking what's his name, Avatar man, how much he spends on these movies. These people are crazy. And ultimately later it was too edgy for Disney, and for their brand strategy. The Force is female, everything else. But a lot of DNA from this eventually leaked into Rogue One, which, as I said, is great, and Andor, which is great, and the early seasons of The Mandalorian, which is great. And the original vision, though, for this show, Star Wars Underworlds, was much broader, and they had done a lot of underworld stories and so adapting lots of great shit that people had already enjoyed. So then the AI here laid out a few others based on what I had asked it about. And it said 3, extensive world building and lore Bible. Lucasfilm under Lucas was obsessive about this, and I had heard about this being a thing. And, just like, because my friends who were big Star Wars fans, like when certain things had been said by Kathleen Kennedy early on, they just all laughed. And, this was like dinner table conversation after cons of like, she's such an asshole. Like, she doesn't even know. Blah, blah, blah. Plus, there's this. Plus, like people who know naming, oh my God, there's a whole Bible and blah, 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 blah. Like, and you're like, there's a Bible? Included in this is detailed Force metaphysics, galactic political systems, alien cultures, so specifics, Sith/Jedi philosophy beyond good versus evil, notes that went far beyond what made it on the screen. And of course, Disney later wiped the EU. The extended universe, for those of you who don't know, the extended universe, like I said, is loaded with comic books and novels that are considered by fans of Star Wars to be absolute classics. They would kill to see something legitimate brought to life on the big screen. So when Kathleen Kennedy was going, we don't have anything to pull from, it was just sort of like people looking around going, what? This person is an asshole. What is this asshole doing running Lucasfilm? And then, of course, there's plenty of Lucas's internal canon, which they could be turning to him for advice occasionally, if they were keeping to anything that he could be proud of. 4, there is concept art, designs, and unused characters. Some of which you've kind of seen echoes of. Early sequel concepts for Luke, Rey, and the Jedi Order. Force-centric imagery that leaned mystical instead of military. Designs that were less retro Star Wars and more pure myth sci-fi. And Doug Chang and other artists, they've confirmed that this material exists. There's a lot of people online, if you go look, who have seen this stuff, worked on this stuff. I had friends who were working on things like, who were hired out of the comics industry and were just steadily designing things over at Lucasfilm for all sorts of just different properties and things, but also sometimes just designing things at random. Who is my artist? My artist on Toy Story is Nate, not Nate Lovett. Nate Crosby? No. I'm like blanking out of my artist's name. Well, anyway, my artist for Toy Story, he was working with Lucasfilm for a while. And I actually had another artist friend of mine who I'm not remembering who it was, who was also working for them. They were seemingly employing a lot of people, and they had both separately told me, because I was I asked about it after I knew I had 2 people, and they had a lot of people on staff working on things. This is all prior to the Disney, buying it. Um, 5, a philosophical through line. And of course, this is the quiet part that no one likes to talk about. Lucas wasn't just telling stories, he was exploring consciousness. Free will versus determinism, symbiosis, balance, decay, the idea that technology without wisdom destroys myth. Disney pivoted instead to brand familiarity, market tested nostalgia, soft reboots instead of mythic evolution. And that's the cool thing about this ChatGPT 2. It's really trained on me pretty good, even though I stopped using it. And some of the things that I had suggested at the top were kind of spiritual, and it gave me back a bunch of really great bits that I wanted to talk about, but laid it out in just bullet points, so it's worth sharing. For me, yeah, I don't hate the AI. I have it's a wonderful tool, and if it can give me accurate information and help me do the thing that I want to do and bring good information to people, then I'm happy. I just try to use it responsibly. Um, do 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 do. So like again, some of this is like it's saying this shit for me because of what I was saying and because of it knows me. So it says, but these points are great. The core irony: Disney bought Star Wars for $4 billion, but the one thing they didn't really want was George Lucas himself, or the weirder, deeper Star Wars only he would have made. Lucas later said, "quote They didn't really understand what I was trying to do," which honestly, obviously. So after that, I got some breakdowns of some of this stuff, including the sequel trilogy and things like plot points and stuff like that. So just out of curiosity, especially because this is on the table, and I think that we should all wholeheartedly support it. So I thought, let me lay out some of these ideas for you guys so you can like kind of titillate and like see, this is what they're talking about doing. I think it's really cool, and ultimately, this is what George wants to do. If I was working on this stuff as a creative person, I would try to honor what George wants to do and try to make it great. And anything about it that I thought wasn't awesome, I would try to make more awesome in some way or another. So the core thesis for this third trilogy, Lucas wanted to move downward, not outward. It's hero's journey, fall of institutions, and the nature of the Force itself. So deep discovery, hero's journey thing, and like the some next level. Basically, Star Wars stops being about knights and empires and becomes more about consciousness, which that I would love to see. So you got the wills and the microbitic force, which I mentioned earlier. I knew I was going to talk about it later, so I didn't get into it. But this is the big one that everybody mocked, because they misunderstand it. It's just a little bit more difficult to frame or explain at greater length. But the wills are these microscopic intelligences. And midichlorians are the interface with them. Jedi don't use the Force, they align with it. And Sith try to dominate it. And basically, the Force is a living symbol symbolized through these microscopic intelligence. It's like working with the universe, which is a great metaphor for working with God, working with the flow of things. Balance equals symbiosis, not moral purity. So the Jedis aren't good or evil; they're balanced, and the Sith are imbalanced and they're dominating. And this ties directly to Taoism and Gnosticism, Jung's system theory. Like, this is like, I fucking study this shit. Lucas wasn't demystifying the Force. He was revealing the deeper mystery. And I mean, what a lovely thing. And I mean, the fact that we didn't get to go in this direction is honestly a tragedy. Luke Skywalker in the Lucas version was not a joke, and not a hermit punchline. Okay, he fails, but in like a meaningful mythic way. Basically, he realizes the Jedi Order itself was flawed. He withdraws to relearn the Force at its root, and then he returns as something closer to a Force philosopher slash guardian. Older, wiser, a little bit more like Obi-Wan. Less of a warrior monk, and more of a keeper of this balance that I was talking about. And ultimately, Luke's arc is about, like what happens when the old myths no longer work, which sounds familiar to me. If you've been paying attention to Disney Star Wars. Anyway, the new protagonist, the Proto-Rey, a young woman, but she was not instantly competent. She learned through connection, not dominance. Her strength was attunement, not aggression. She represented a new relationship to power. And oh my God, what does that sound like? Actual feminine energy. Incredible that instead we got this girl power, or girls doing the boy thing. It's really so silly. And she didn't replace Luke. She continued what he uncovered. Now, for Lucas, the end game was, about redefining the Force, giving a new understanding of balance. I talk about this on Everything They Don't Want You to Know. I talked about it earlier. My Esoteric Wisdom podcast. You have to know how powerful you are and that you could kill somebody, but know that that's not something you're going to do, and that's a gift that you give to all people as you don't use your strength in such a way, but know your power. So I believe that's part of, based on some of the things that I've read, part of, his new understanding of this balance, that it's not quite Jesus. And you're going to see, the Jedi as more of like listeners and not enforcers. And the galaxy stabilizing through wisdom and not victory. So that it was, quiet and strange and spiritual, and that is really how a third sequel trilogy should have been ending. And that brings us to Lucas versus Disney, point by point. Lucas's version, the myth evolves. Disney's version, the myth resets. In Lucas's version, you got a spiritual ecology, and in Disney's version, you got fucking superpowers. In Lucas's version, you've got the Jedi being questioned, and in Disney's version, you've got the Jedi just cosmetically rebooted. And then in Lucas's version, you've got failure equaling transformation. And Disney, you've got failure equaling subversion gag. And Lucas's, you've got new symbols. And Disney's just completely familiar imagery. Doesn't move the story forward at all. And in Lucas, you've got a long-term myth continuing to do what he did with the original Star Wars, build from, and the prequel trilogy, use his knowledge of Joseph Campbell's The Hero's Journey, a book I highly recommend you read if you're a writer out there, to tell a long-term myth as opposed to Disney's fucking short-term dopamine. That, who remembers anything from any of that shit? It's just like, ugh. In Lucas's, Luke Skywalker goes from broken to enlightened to essential. And in Disney's, he goes from broken to bitter to removed. It's just wasteful. Disney didn't challenge Luke. They invalidated him to prop up a new cast, which is what they did with all of the cast members. And that's not myth making. That's brand replacement. They should have came in hard with fucking Luke Skywalker back, and it meant something. It still meant something to people. You didn't have to subvert our expectations or any of that. It's really just a bummer. And we're running out of time to do it right. Also, the Force, in Lucas's, you get it being displayed as a living system that requires humility, and something that is also ultimately very familiar to what we're dealing with on a higher level on planet Earth. And in Disney's version, it's just fucking inherited ability plus spectacle. Once the Force becomes you're special because you're special, which even the you're a nobody is like the wonderful inversion of that, even though it's the same thing. It stops being a universal myth, and it becomes just a power fantasy, which I know that many have accused Luke Skywalker and all that of being a power fantasy. In some levels it is. But I mean, it's a much deeper and more layered thing than just that. And because the version that they tried to do was just a power fantasy, it didn't work. Plus, what? Villains. Lucas is doing a systematic corruption, imbalance, misuse of power. Disney's doing confused guy, bigger laser, louder scream. Just more of the same. Kylo Ren could have been a Lucas villain, but instead he became a symbol of fucking unresolved nostalgia rage, kind of nepotism. It's a weird one. And he's a great actor, that guy, too. I didn't love the design, but, could have been something. And I want to talk about why this broke shared culture so badly, because this is the real story. Myth is a contract, Shared myth works because elders passed wisdom forward, wisdom that they know that matters to the youth. And youth inherit and transform it, yes, but it has to matter to the things that they are enjoying now. Nothing is erased here. But when you try to erase the past, that connection gets broken, and that's what Disney did. They broke that contract. They discarded the elder, and they replaced the symbols, and all they kept was the brand. They think that this creates evolution, but it just creates discontinuity. And now there's a hump, it's because the fans just kind of go quiet and disappear. They don't watch that one, but they rewatch the other ones over and over and over again. And then there just ends up being a thing of well, should we just ignore it because that's what they're doing? And that's what's going to happen to all these brands. We're just going to ignore all of Star Wars, all of Star Trek, everything that they've fucking done during this time. After those three, I enjoyed those three movies, even though they're not as deeply Star Trek as I would like them to be. But I enjoyed those three movies. But everything after that they've done, I haven't even gone back for that one great season of Next Gen. I'd like to one day, but not right now. I won't support them in any way, shape, or form. People felt that something was wrong with this Star Wars, whether it was being articulated or not. They felt it. Because subconsciously, Luke wasn't just a character. He was a map of moral becoming, an archetype. And when that map is mocked, the audience feels unmoored from that reality. And this is why arguments about plot holes, really miss the point. The damage was mythic, not technical. And, the Andor is a bit of an exception, the Andor show. And, it did work. And it succeeds because it accidentally re-enters Lucas's systemic thinking. It treats power as corruptive, focuses on cost, consequence, choice. It feels real because it's about structures, not mascots. And I mean, like, literally about structures. The first, like, big chunk of episodes that are just so great are in this high-tech prison, and them trying to have to figure out how to get around the technology that's being used to entrap them. It's great stuff. And the final fucking irony, to this whole thing is, now Disney's going to circle back towards Lucas's ideas. And hopefully, Andor will be saved and Rogue One will be saved. But hopefully we fucking forget all about most of this shit. Because it's about balance. It's about, gray morality, spiritual depth, mythic consequence. And, they just have not had the spine to commit fully to this. And without that, they just abandon the myth for metrics. And it's hard to go home again. But if they could start again fresh on these trilogies, to just get these things going with George's original vision at the ready. I mean, what fucking better way to actually reinvigorate with Star Wars? Granted, then they have to do a good job. And of course, that's the trick. And will they do a good job? I don't know. But this is certainly the best rumor, the best idea that I've heard for Star Wars in a very, very long time. And I wholeheartedly support it. And I think you should too. Now, I wanted to talk about Star Trek real quick too, because they did something very interesting. And most people might not notice that this was like a big deal. But they put out Starfleet Academy, their new show, available free on YouTube. And now that is not something they usually do. The comments are on. The likes are on. The view count is visible. And people can see how many people watch it. Of course, they got clowned because Star Trek is in disarray. It has been floundering for forever. I don't know what is keeping it on. Honestly, I think it's a fucking conspiracy that it has lasted this long, continuing to shit all over Gene Roddenberry's legacy. But putting aside that as a speculative fucking idea of why this has been going on, why has it been put on YouTube in a place where we could get the comments, get the view count, all this different shit? Because somebody at the Star Trek in control of this thing wanted to actually see how this property is doing with people. And oh boy, did they get a clear message. We hated it. Fucking do not like this thing. I loved all the comments of people who hadn't watched any of the shitty Star Trek because it had been behind a paywall and a lot of things. So for some people, they hadn't got around to seeing any of this stuff. And they just went, what the fuck is this? This isn't Star Trek. Just immediately. All the people have been saying, what the fuck is this? This isn't Star Trek. The Orville is more like Star Trek for friggin' how many years now? 8 years, 6 years, whatever. And now it's just, here, let's put it on YouTube to see the same fucking thing that we've all been saying this entire time. It's completely tone deaf. It completely misses the point. It's terrible. It's got a modern sensibility in the worst fucking way. And it's just preachy and like, ugh. There's so many things about it that are terrible. But the biggest things about it today are all of the sins of bringing modern sins into the show. There was certain aspects of modern interaction that was not available to the cast members of the Trek of the Enterprise, the cast of the crew of the Enterprise, because there was not meant to be ridiculous infighting amongst the member of the Enterprise, and there was supposed to be a certain amount of decorum because they are fucking a organized elite group of people exploring the galaxy. And they have thrown that out the window in favor of vulgarity, stupidity, and individual and gender and sexual politics. it's really an abomination, a tragedy. I've mostly all I watched was the very first episode of Star Trek Discovery, and I've just seen clips. But the very first episode of Star Trek Discovery told me everything I needed to know, and I've been paying attention. And even though there's been one or two moments where I've wanted to kind of get in there and watch a couple things, I've refused to because I just do not want to support the overall ideology that is fucking underneath the surface of this terrible thing. Star Trek is the one positive vision of the future that we have in science fiction. The single one. Name another one. If you can name another one, fucking write to me at jbs@blacklightdistrict.studio. I want to read or fucking watch or whatever the thing. There are no positive visions of the future. They all end in calamity. It's all after some fucking terrible blah, 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 and we're still dealing with terrible blah, 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 blah. And freaking Kurtzman, his contribution to the Star Trek mythos is to make the humans just as bad as they've ever been by introducing a Starfleet Black Ops unit, just doing things business as usual like they're being done here on planet Earth. Star Trek is not meant to be a fucking metaphor for modern times. It's meant to be an example of how things might be in the future and to get us to start thinking outside of the box of our little world living as human beings here. And the current Star Trek has not been doing that. And I pray that the people who have chosen to put this out on YouTube so they could see the numbers and see the reactions and all this, I pray that they got the fucking message loud and clear. We do not like it. Take it away from these assholes and give it to somebody who loves it. There are tons of surviving people who have written and produced and worked on this Star Trek material, and they should be put in charge. You don't have to be chic and blah, 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 blah. You just have to be good. Should it have a little bit more action? Should it be a little bit more sexy? Yes, sure. But that's a job for a producer overseeing and not getting in the way of the people who tell the great stories. And that's what they're doing right now. It's all style over substance, and it's turned to fucking mush. The Disney Star Wars is just sort of like a meandering thing because it just repeated the same thing basically and just didn't really add anything to it and didn't really want to make you want to hang out there anymore because it didn't explore it in a way that gave you more questions. Andor's exploration gives you more questions. Rogue One gave you more questions, and there was more things that you would like to see based on some of the things that you got to see there. But the rest of it doesn't do that. It doesn't open up the world. The reason why the Marvel Universe became a thing is because it kept opening up doors. So much of what they've done in the Marvel Cinematic Universe since they got rid of the Marvel Brain Trust is they've been closing doors. Me and my best buddy Aaron Sparrow, we often talk about how if they would have handed us this script right before they shot it, we could have made a dozen major but minor adjustments that would have saved them from closing a shitload of doors and left a lot of things open for them in good ways. But when you're not thinking ahead of time, the same way Kathleen Kennedy wasn't thinking ahead of time when she did her trilogy and didn't have a plan for 1, 2, 3, you don't make a good fucking plan, and the shit doesn't hold up to scrutiny, and it's not something that people want to hang from and explore more and investigate and enjoy how solid it has been made. These things, long form storytelling is there's so much great shit to do. It's a lot of great short form storytelling mixed with a real conscious awareness of continuity in a satisfying way when things are remembered and they're brought back the same way they are in a song. This part that opened the song that I liked and we remembered it and we brought it back as a bridge. That's how you bring the audience and oh yes, that's right, I like that. Oh yeah, it's really member berries, but it's about organizing it mathematically so that it can be an engaging experience. And of course, layered amongst that are so many other details and whatnot that make up the thing. But ultimately, it is just a mathematical equation that's pulling you in, and your protagonist is exploring something that they want very badly, and they're working hard to get it. And you're watching them work hard, and the harder they work, the more you want them to get it. And if they work hard enough, the audience will demand that you give it to them because they earned it. That's how it goes. It's really simple. Another really good book for you storytellers and writers out there is a book called Wired for Story. Highly recommend reading that. That turned my whole head upside down. I'd read like not quite a dozen, probably like 8 of the most famous books on writing. from Stephen King's on writing, Save the Cat. There's 2 books by William Goldman. They're called 5 screenplays or whatever else, and a few others. And this one I was just sort of blown away by, because it just demonstrated what's really going on with people when they're reading a story, experiencing a story. That it's all really, what do you call it, visceral. They are just looking for somebody who wants something because they want something. And are they working for it? And are they struggling for it? If they struggle hard enough, okay, give it to them. That's it. That's really the core of storytelling. And, of course, there's more to it. And more to it tends to be teaching, showing people things, being able to give spirituality to your depth of explanation of the force that aligns with some of the spirituality in the world so that people can take away something from the film experience. That's wonderful. That's what George Lucas was trying to do. That's why he's a visionary. That's worth fucking exploring. We need to go back to Gene Roddenberry's notes as well with a new Star Wars thing. New Star Trek thing. And I've it hasn't been given to me as a job, so I haven't gone back to figure out what it is they should do. But there's tons of things that they could fucking do with Star Trek to bring it back and make it great. And, if you need somebody, guys, call me. Anyway, visit blacklightdistrict.studio. You can email me at jbs@blacklightdistrict.studio if you could think of another fucking positive freaking science fiction vision of the future. I can't. But free music, free comics at blacklightdistricts.studio. Please check it out and support my company. And this is I study all this stuff so I can make things better and make better things and open up the world to a better future of amazing entertainment. And I hope you'll be there for it. Anyway, I hope you're going to be joining us 5 days a week and then back here on Saturday as we recommend a ton of things on another fucking awesome week of Coolest Alive. Love you guys. Peace out. You've been listening to Coolest Geek Alive with me, your host, Jesse Blaze Snider. Don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe for more excellent geek culture content. Thanks for listening.
It's my favorite part! Isn't that heavy? I'll play that! It's gonna be fucking awesome! Coolest alive! It's gonna be fucking awesome! Stay with your tribe! It's gonna be fucking awesome! Revenge of the Geeks! It's gonna be fucking awesome! Week after weeks! It's gonna be fucking awesome! Laughing with you! It's gonna be fucking awesome! And crying sometimes too! It's gonna be fucking awesome! Spelling it out! It's gonna be fucking awesome! Making you shout! It's gonna be fucking awesome. Talking some shit. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Living your shit. My voice is gonna be fucking awesome. Food in our mouth. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Get in the mouth. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Tell all your friends. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Call right or text. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Raising the bar. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Straight to the stars. It's gonna be fucking awesome. It's starting soon. Straight to the top. Awesome. Passing the moon. It's gonna be fucking awesome. On with the show. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Ready, set, go. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Fucking awesome. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Just wait. You'll see. You'll all see.
The podcast playground.